everyone. Happy Earth Day. Today is Earth Day where we learn how to take better care of the earth, whether we plant a tree, make sure we pick up our garbage, or use some recyclables for planting like milk jugs, milk cartons, or even your egg cartons. When you're done with the eggs, you can put some dirt in there and plant a seed. So for Earth Day, I thought I would read a story called The Lorax. Now this is a really long story, so make sure you're in a comfortable spot, and I hope you enjoy. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing except old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock on his door. He stays in his lurkin on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffered moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes the most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole, his glorious glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by wisp-on-a-phone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Slurp, down slurps the wisp-on-a-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had small bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the song of the swoomy swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. So this is the Onceler telling the story of the Lorax. These are all the truffula trees. Look how pretty the land used to be. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their troughs was so much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh, buttery milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. Here's the Onceler. He's unloading all of his things from his cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. So he chopped down one truffula tree and he made a thneed. That instant I finished, I heard a gazump. I looked, I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I had chopped down. It was a sort of a man. Describe him, That's hard. I don't know if I can." He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpest and bossy. I wonder who this little guy is. Do you have a guess of who that is? "Mister," he said with a sawdusty sneeze, "I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs." He was very upset, and he shouted and he puffed. "What's that thing you've made out of my truff? So this is the Lorax. And he does not seem very happy that the Onceler chopped down his tree. "Look, Lorax," I said, "there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, a sock, a glove, a hat, but it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats." The Lorax said, "Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth that would buy that thneed." Would you use a thneed? But the very next minute I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. "You poor guy, you never can tell what some people will buy." "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees." "I'm busy," I told him. I rushed across the room in no time at all, built a radio phone, and I made a quick call. I called on my brothers and uncles and aunts. I said, "Listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch." So the Onceler is calling all of his family. I wonder what they're going to do. And then, in no time at all, I built a factory. The whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were making and knitting thneeds just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. They're cutting more truffula trees down. Do you think that's a good idea? Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. They're cutting all the trees down. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I am the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I am also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloo suits, and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round, and my poor barbaloots are getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies." "They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys," he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. So all the brown barbaloots are leaving because there's no more food. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, and biggered the loads of needs I shipped out. I was shipping them from forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering and selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. So the Onceler is making more needs and cutting down more trees and making his business bigger. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He gargled and he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cruffulous croak, Onceler, you're making a smogulous smoke. My poor swoomy swans, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. Smog is like pollution. Do you notice the sky is different now that the Onceler has come and started making all of these needs in his factory? There's lots of smoke. It's making the Lorax and the swoomy swans feel sick. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape the smog you've smogged up around here. So all the swoomy swans are flying away because they have no place to live now because there's too much pollution, too much like yuck and schmuck in the air, so they have to fly somewhere else to live. What's more, snapped the Lorax as dander was up, let me say a few words about Glippity-Glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making Gluppity-Glups and also Schloppity-Schlop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. He is making a very big mess, the Onceler, and the Lorax is not happy about that. Oh my goodness, look at this page. What do you see on here? Do those fish look happy? And look at the water they're swimming in now. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hum. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that's not so smeary. So the whole world where the Lorax live and all these animals is getting yucky. It's not as bright anymore. Let me find that page. This is what it used to look like. Pretty truffle of trees, a nice blue sky. Now it's looking kind of dirty. Would you want to live here? And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, yap. Say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering. Turning more truffle of trees into needs, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on the tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. That Onceler cut down all the trees, and here is the very last tree being cut down. There are no more. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time my uncles and aunts every one all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smudged stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. So now everyone is leaving because there's no more trees to cut down for their needs. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. He gave me a very sad, sad backwards glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through the hole in the smog without leaving a trace. So now the Lorax left because the Onceler made such a mess of his land, it's not clean for anyone to live in anymore. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. But that was a long, long ago, and each day since that day I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I worried about it with all of my heart. So the Onceler is here worrying about all of this land. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot. Nothing's going to get better, it's not. So the Onceler is telling this boy, maybe he can do something to help this yucky land be something different. So, catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and the truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack, then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. There's the seed he threw down. What do you think that little boy is going to do with it? That's the end of the story. So hopefully he plants that last truffula tree and grows all the truffula seed, and all the trees can grow back, and the Lorax and all the animals that went away can come back. I hope you enjoyed the story. Happy Earth Day.